Joining me now is a long-awaited professor of journalism and media scholar at Kennesaw State University, Professor Farooq Kperogi. He's also going to talk about some of the issues we're focusing on today. Professor Kperogi, thank you for joining us on this day live. It's good to see you.
Thanks for inviting me, Dr. Bati.
Yes, well, Professor Kperogi, let's start with your piece on the President's October 1, 61st Independence Anniversary Address. You were saying that those who wrote that speech for President Buhari must be on some kind of special weed. Don't you think that that is defamatory? Because there are some of us who thought that that, a national address, 101 paragraphs, touch on quite a number of issues of interest. And if the speech generated conversation, that in itself is useful. It means that the president raised quite a number of issues that we should reflect upon. But you said that this is the product of people that are, that have been fully stoned on marijuana. I thought that was defamatory.
Well, that indicates you have a very limited understanding of defamation. Apologies to you.
You can be sure of that.
Yeah, I know you studied law.
Because you're already calling them drug addicts. You are calling the people behind that speech drug addicts. And I don't think that's fair. Then go ahead.
Well, let me tell you, maybe we should go back to your defamation law.
Okay.
There's something called rhetorical hyperbole.
Okay.
Hyperbole is not grounds for defamation. If I say, for instance, that Reuben Abati is a criminal, that's rhetorical hyperbole. But if I say you stole $300 million while you worked at the presidency, that is defamation. So defamation comes from specificity of information, verifiability of information. Opinion is never defamatory.
It can be if it's not based on facts.
Exactly. Facts are defamatory, but opinions are not. So if I say anything about you, you say you are stupid, you are an idiot, or
Kperogi, don't let's argue. Don't let's argue over defamation and libel. Let's leave that.
Well,
just deal with the substance of your piece.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's part of the substance because I teach media law as well, and I'm very invested intellectually in what constitutes media law. And part of the things that I have tried to bring to public attention is what is called strategic lawsuits against public participation, which is to isolate an element of what someone says that is just simply vigorous expression of opinion and try to make it seem that it's on legal minefield. So I want us to address that part, that you have used strong, vigorous language to call attention to injustice does not constitute basis for defamation. So let's clear that out of the way. But so going back to that, when I said that, it was rhetorical hyperbole. I did not mean that people literally smoked weed, And so even if you go to court, that's what I'm going to say is rhetorical hyperbole. It's that there's a lot of airheadedness in that speech. There's a lot of thoughtlessness in the piece. There's not a lot of introspection that went into that speech. And that was what I was trying to capture by saying that what's weed they smoke. It wasn't literal.
Okay. Well, you raised quite a number of issues in that piece. First, about the British having unified Nigeria. Second, about the basis for suspending Twitter. And third, about whether Nigerian unity is negotiable or not.
Yes, absolutely. So the first was the notion that the British united Nigeria. And I thought that was a historical and non-sociological claim to make. The British had no interest whatsoever in uniting Nigeria. If that were the case, a lot of what constitutes Nigeria Nigeria would probably have been bigger than it is now. The Dara Emirate extends up to most of what is now northern Niger, Borgu. 80% of Borgu is in Benin Republic. We are the same people, and I know many communities in Ogun that are, whose kith and kin are in the Benin Republic. We have Chad, in Borno, a lot of people there used to belong to the same political entity. They just came and arbitrarily divided people. And so to say that they created unity, frankly, as I said, it's akin to saying a rapist, giving praises to a rapist for the child that the mother has. It was not their intention. And frankly, in a national speech commemorating our independence, talk about the British, giving credit to British for creating unity amongst us is frankly beyond clueless. And I don't know who included that there. 61 years after independence, with all the disabling disparities we are still dealing with, and the divide and conquer strategies of the British that it's very well documented and people have written tons and tons of books about. You still have presidential speech writers giving credit to the British for uniting the disparate groups of people that constitute Nigeria. That's beyond illiterate. And that it went to a presidential speech is so thoroughly embarrassing. And every Nigerian should be embarrassed that such a colonial thought process went into a speech that should evoke patriotic fervor in people.
Well, I mean, the president also talked about certain other things that the government has done, but you seem not to have been impressed. What the government has done, for example, with COVID-19 and the attempt to support the pharmaceutical industry, what the government has done with the challenge of insecurity and the plan to recruit 10,000 more policemen, and what the government has done about food, security in Nigeria. I mean, for some people, these were important issues raised by the president, but you were very dismissive. Why?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm not a president's spokesperson. He has, very capable spokespeople that are going to, bring that to light. So it's not my duty to do that. There are people who are paid to do it, and they actually number in their thousands. Factory trolls on social media, paid agents and spokespeople. If they're impressed by that, it's okay. I have absolutely no problems with anyone highlighting the things that the president said that they were impressed by. But my role as a social commentator and a critic is not to dwell on what is supposed to be the high points or good points of the speech. But having said that, as someone who studied rhetorical communication and who has written about what is called the rhetorical presidency, those things don't belong in an Independence Day speech. Whatever it is he has done on food security, on employing more police officers, those are everyday routine policy issues that don't belong in a presidential speech commemorating the independence of a nation. A commemorative speech, should inspire hopes for the future, should renew people's enthusiasm for the country, should try to unite and find, it's more on the intangible benefits of Nigerianness, and frankly, a lot of the claims in this speech are factually inaccurate. He talked about, for instance, food security and tying food security to pharmaceutical independence. Where in the world does pharmaceutical independence lead to food security, or food security lead to pharmaceutical independence? I mean, so that's this scatterbrain thought process in a presidential speech that is supposed to be preceded by a lot of deliberateness. A lot of people are supposed to look through the speech, make corrections, yet you have a factually, ridiculous claim in a presidential speech as the president, saying that the pharmaceutical independence is going to lead to food security. Where in the world does that happen? And we also know that this is a presidency that has made a career out of, barefaced lies. So, for instance, the Mamila Power Project that the presidency had touted as one of its signature achievements turned out to be complete phantom. It does not exist. So why do we believe when they say they have asks that 10,000 police officers be recruited every year. I mean, these are all just claims that have no basis in facts, in reality. But frankly, this is not the place for that. This is not the place for such, mundane policy prescriptions. And that's my problem with it. I'm supposed to watch an independence speech, and be inspired and have my faith in the nation rejuvenated, and concerns that people have. And this is a moment, even the president, the only moment that the speech acknowledged what we should be talking about is the description of the last 18 months of the presidency as the toughest moment in Nigeria's history. Well, it was just, go ahead.
Yes, Professor Kperogi, I was going to say, okay, let's move away from the president's speech. Let's talk about Nigeria itself. Do you believe that October 1st, Independence Day, is worth celebrating? Not just this month, but also at all times. And if so, why?
Well, I would say, in the list of things we should celebrate, I would say absolutely yes, because whatever the faults of the country are, it's still a country. That's our country. That's the only country that we have. And it signals, it's a very important symbolic date. It's the day that we supposedly became independent from British colonialism. So for that fact, the fact that it signals our divorce from British colonialism is worth celebrating. So absolutely, it is in symbolic terms. But of course, people ask questions about what have you achieved over the years? The post-independence leaders, what have they done to bring together these disparate people that the British arbitrarily cobbled together for their own convenience, for their own exploitative reasons? So it's time to move beyond what I, in my piece called self-pitying lamentations, and actually do something about what exists. Let's move beyond what ought to be to what is. And my frustration over the years has been that we've not had leaders, who for a sustained period try to bring our people together, try to find the similarities that unite us. And there's a lot of similarities that unite us, and a lot of which I have written about. For instance, more than 80% of the languages in Nigeria are Niger-Congo languages, which means that our differences are relatively recent. Like about 1,000 years ago, a lot of people who constitute what's now Nigeria spoke the same language, came from the same ancestor. And we, devolved into different ethnicities and languages. But linguists will tell you that the differences, the evolution is relatively recent. But we don't have leaders who will instill in our civics classes the things that unite us. And so we keep, drifting apart. So although we've been independent symbolically from British colonialism since October 1960, we haven't taken advantage of that symbolic freedom. And so that worries me. Okay. But in celebrating, yes, I agree.
Okay, you fall into the category of a Nigerian in diaspora. You live and work in the United States. You used to be part of the hustle with the rest of us back home here in the media, in academia, and now you are in the United States. But when you look back, at what is going on in Nigeria, what is it that excites you about the idea of being a Nigerian? There must be certain things, that excite you about the land of your birth.
Absolutely. Well, it's the untrammeled energy of the youth of Nigeria. And the fact that a profusion, a different identity, is emerging. And that a Nigerian identity is, in spite of all our ethnic disparities, our music, there's Nigerian music that's emerging, and we have this profusion of cultural repertoires that are uniquely Nigerian, that the world identifies with Nigeria. That inspires me. A lot of young people who are born in Nigerian urban areas are increasingly assuming an identity that is completely different from the identities that their parents have. And I'm going to give you examples. I have seen northern Nigerian youth who grew up in Abuja and other big cities, connecting with southern Nigerian youth and having more in common than their parents had. And this generation of Nigerians are emerging in spite of the fights between the elite about political power, regional differences, religious differences. I wrote a piece, for instance, when Buhari's son got married, and the music that was played during the weddings were songs that are very popular in southern Nigeria. And the ease with which this northern youth were repeating the lyrics, showed you that they are really deeply invested culturally in this emerging cultural Nigeriana. That never happened before. So that fills me with a lot of hope. Of course, it's going to create the fact that there's an emerging Nigerian identity that is insensitive to the ethnic and religious divisions that exist now. Fills me with hope, but that does not mean that it's not going to create its own contradictions, because everywhere people live, the difference is one of the key drivers of society. The United States, for instance, in spite of all its claims to being united, even for its name, has a lot of differences and feuding, and some parts say they want to leave, they want to secede, which is natural. There's no human society that's perfect. But the fact that this emerging identity that is insensitive to ethnic differences fills with a lot of hope. And our music, I was watching music videos, a viral music video of Rwandan, wedding entries.
Well, Professor Kperogi,
Yes,
if you can hear me, sorry to interrupt you. We need to take a short break, but stay with us. After that break, I still have one or more questions for you. We'll take this short break, and when we return, the conversation with Professor Farooq Kperogi will continue. Welcome back to This Day Live, the Sunday talk show here on the Arise News channel. Our guest is still Professor of Journalism and a media scholar at Kennesaw State University in Georgia, Atlanta, Professor Farooq Kperogi. Professor Kperogi, thank you for staying with us. Well, you were going to conclude your thoughts about what excites you about Nigeria. And then after that, I was talking about questions. Yes.
Okay. I talked about, before the interruption, the music videos. The songs of Nigeria have become the songs of Africa. And when people talk about, wedding entries in Kigali, Rwanda, and all the songs, every single song that is sung or that were played during the weddings were Nigerian songs. That filled with a lot of pride. And here in the United States, FM stations play a lot of Nigerian songs, and have been living here for nearly 20 years. Hadn't seen that before. The number of times in programs and shows when people talk about African music, it's almost always Nigerian music. So that fills with a lot of hope. And the technological, the number of youth in Nigeria who are just so smart and are invested in technology, who are in the forefront of innovations in digital economy, also fills with a lot of pride. So in spite of the poor leadership that we've been cursed with, Nigeria is still a great place, and Nigerians are great people. And that's why I'm, irrevocably, emotionally connected to Nigeria, in spite of being physically away from it.
Okay, quickly, your thoughts on the politics of 2023 and this, confrontation, if I may use that phrase, in quotes, between stakeholders in the South and stakeholders in the northern part of the country. With the South governors, 19 of them, taking a position different from that of the 17 governors of the North. And those 17 governors supported in their claims and positions by the traditional institution in the North?
Well, I would say, there's nothing frankly surprising about the differences. It's just normal in every political situation. People who hold power want to hold on to it. No one ever willingly gives up power, and people who are outside of it want to get it. And so the push and pull between the South and the North for the presidency of Nigeria just reflects normal political happenings. And every region of the country has some claim to the leadership of the country, which is normal. One of the things people are surprised that people in the Northwest would want to be president again because they've been president 2 times, vice president once. But a lot of people I have spoken with from the Northwest say, look, the years of Buhari presidency have been so injurious to the unity of the country that should he be succeeded by someone from the South immediately, the payback against the North, particularly the Northwest, will be so devastating that they need someone who is more moderate to succeed him to undo some of the damage he has done. That's one of the arguments that I've heard from people from the Northwest. And the Northeast, of course, would say, we've never had a president outside of the prime minister. The North Central would say, well, apart from the military rule, we've never produced anyone in the presidency, either as a president or a vice president. And of course, the Southeast has those claims as well. So almost every part of the country has some legitimacy to the claims that they make. My own attitude to this is we need to live in a country where every person feels a sense of belonging, feels that even if not in reality, but in principle, they can aspire to the highest leadership of the land. So I am in principle in support of a rotation of power to the South after 8 years of the APC presidency now. Of course, that doesn't come without struggle. It comes with consensus building, it comes with compromise, and it comes with an understanding that, to have national continuity, you need to make compromises. And I hope that at some point, the elite will sit together and resolve this issue. But it's nothing, frankly, that hasn't been happening since, the founding of Nigeria. It's just normal.
Okay, well, finally, I would like to ask you about INEC and the integrity of elections in Nigeria. The Independent National Electoral Commission, just a few days ago, issued a statement, saying that, look, it's been working on electronic transmission of results since maybe 2011. And it's even in a better position to provide the necessary structures to ensure that results are electronically transmitted. And also that the telecom companies, they are prepared to make sure that this is done. And many Nigerians say they want electronic transmission. But the 2 chambers of the National Assembly of Nigeria insist, their members insist. The Senate says no electronic transmission. The House of Reps says you will need the permission of the National Assembly or the Nigerian Communications Commission. Why is it so difficult for these lawmakers to just allow INEC to do its job as an independent body?
I think I wrote a column about that some time ago when this debate first emerged. And I said, frankly, it's because it's a fear of the consequences of true elections, which is a lot of them are going to lose their seats. Several of the lawmakers, including the late Ibrahim Manzu, confessed on national television that he helped rig elections. And we know there's no integrity to a lot of the elections that brought many of them to power. And so they are scared stiff because should elections be truly a reflection of the voters' expressions of interest, then a lot of them will not return. But what really gets to me is that they are not even tactical about making this fact obvious to viewers, to readers, to the electorate. And so I think people should insist that since INEC has come out to say that they are equipped, in all respects to conduct elections electronically, that should be done. And it really gets to me that they are getting away with almost literally with murder, because if on-site transmission of electronic results are not done, what has been happening all these years will keep happening. And we know that the president some time ago said ballot snatchers should be shot, dead, but here is a solution that would eliminate ballot snatching completely from the equation. And the same presidency that said ballot snatchers should be shot is quiet, and they're not lending any symbolic or political support to INEC to transmit votes electronically, so that these electoral malpractices will be held in check. So it's one of the things, frankly, that frustrates me about commentary, because you write about these things, people are educated, they're angry, they're outraged, but nothing happens. And the people who hold power, who oppress the masses, get away with it. And I hope that something can be done about insisting that INEC transmits votes electronically, so that the electoral malpractices are eliminated or attenuated.
Well, on that note, I would like to thank you very much, Professor Farooq Kperogi, for joining us on This Day Live, the Sunday talk show. Thank you very much indeed.